Thank you, Trish, Rose, Kim, and thank you again to everyone for being here today. At last year's conference, we had a celebration of the closing of Harborside. We heard from people who were finding out what it was like to make choices about where they lived and what they could do with their time. This morning, I'm going to share an update on where we are with the closing of the other facilities. But before I start, I do have a couple of people to introduce. They're going to help me with this, and we'll go to them as soon as I do the presentation. From Pictou, we have Alida Jarvis. Lita was born in Halifax, one of 19 siblings from a combined family, and she is a survivor of 7 institutions. Lita has been living in the community for over 30 years, and she went back to school and took training in cooking. She has volunteered for the VON Day program, and she has her own apartment with a cat and a dog. Lita has been a member of People First for over 25 years. She's very active in speaking and giving presentations all over the province, nationally and internationally. From Halifax, we welcome Jane Gillis, originally from North Sydney, Nova Scotia. Jane has lived in Halifax since 2000 with her husband and 3 daughters. Jane first became involved with the Halifax Association for Community Living when her eldest daughter, who has physical and intellectual disabilities, attended the Halifax Developmental Center in 2000. Jane has a keen interest in advocacy, especially for those who cannot speak for themselves. Jane is also very concerned about quality programming and eventually supported housing options for her daughter, who is now in her 20s. I guess I do this. Okay. So, as I say, we'll turn to Alida and Jane after I go through these slides. So I won't take a lot of time here today because there's lots to hear from and hear about, but I think it's really key that you guys understand the work that has been going on as it relates to the other facilities in the province. And a lot of work, like Trisha's team, we had to build a lot of things to start the work. So we had to develop a strategy that would say when these facilities would close. We had to create new roles to support them, and we had to hire to those roles. And we had to build documents that gave step-by-step instructions in collaboration with those associations and facilities so that everybody was following the same plan and everybody would be treated fairly. And to do that, we also had to recognize that there might be some expenses associated with that, and we had to create a fund that we could support our agencies to apply for should they want some additional funding to look at how they could transition into the community. The remedy is more than just the ARCs and RRCs, though. It's also about looking at anything larger than 4 beds. And so we have to turn our attention shortly to how we will support agencies and organizations who run group homes or developmental residents and how we can do the same sort of process to support them to reduce or transition to a smaller program. First thing we did, and I mentioned it in the previous slide, we had to create some roles of who was going to help with this. And so we created 4 regional specialist roles, and they help coordinate facility closures by working within a region with the facilities and the agencies there. They provide some leadership. They report to me so that we're doing everything the same across the province. And they have worked with senior leaders within the agency and in some cases with the boards that are there. They also have looked to hire community living facilitators. So we have 4 community living facilitators, and their role will kick in more when people identify their community of choice, and the living facilitators will do just that. They'll be out there looking at ways to reduce barriers so that participants in a facility can move into the community of their choice. So I mentioned that we had to come up with an approach. We had to determine how we would establish a timeline for when facilities would close. And we looked at it from the perspective of we wanted to make sure that participants had their choice to go where they wanted to go and when they wanted to go. We needed to ensure that it was equitable across the province so that we could start all closures at the same time. And so we set timeframes around the size of the facilities. So for our adult residential centers and our regional rehabilitative centers, ARCs and RRCs, we have three different approaches, three different timelines. So we have a small, medium, and large approach to this, with our smaller agencies like Quest having a 1-year time frame and our larger facilities like King's Rehab having a 3-year time frame. We did build in a flex time at the end if there was a need to support people who had more support needs. We have an additional 1-year time frame, but our hope is to work with our facility administrators to achieve this goal. And in partnership with the IPSCs, the intensive planners, our goal is to try to achieve these 1, 2, and 3-year time frames. The residential care facilities are also part of this work that we're doing right now, and they're scattered throughout the province. There's over 20 of those across the province, and they range in size. They can be as small as 8 or 9, and they can be as large as 35. And so we built a timeline based on the number within a region so that we could allocate resources to support them. Again, like with RRCs and ARCs, it all starts at the same time. In fact, all of this is starting at the same time. And we start working with the agencies in January. Did they hit that? There we go. So for our RCFs, which are those community larger facilities, again, a 2-year or 3-year time frame based on the fact that the regions are medium or large in the number of participants that they support. And so you can see here that Northern and Eastern will have a 2-year time frame, and the RCFs in Western and Central, because of the numbers that they are and how many participants they support, there's an additional year. And again, like the ARCs and RRCs, there's a 1-year extension at the end should it be needed. Maria mentioned this no new admissions policy. Again, it's a support to help close, as her point was. We can't hope to close a facility if we keep putting people into the beds, and so we effectively closed the beds down for new admissions for the larger facilities in January of this year, and next year it will be January again for the group homes and developmental residents. And I mentioned that we created a fund to help agencies who might be looking at ways that they could expand their services into the community so that the staff they have who have relationships with participants could follow those participants if that was something that people wanted to do. And so we called it the Service Evolution Funds for people to evolve their service into the community. And this past very short time frame, from November to March, we had 3 rounds of funding, and we gave out over 20 grants, and the total value of that was $1 million. And we have that for each of the additional years of the remedy, and so we'll continue to offer those Service Evolution grants to agencies as they apply for them. These are just simple depictions of the guides that we created. We worked behind the scenes very diligently to try to create processes that we could use to support our facilities who've not been through this before on what would be expected of them and what the roles would be that they would have and how we would support them through that. So there's a facility closure guide. There's a community transition guide to help our participants move out. And there's several of those guides written for the different audiences that would take them to read. So what's to come over the next very busy year? We, as intensive planners, are inserted into the agencies to start working with you as participants. We'll be there to help you. We'll be there to support that process while supporting the agencies to envision a new future. We have to develop an approach and a plan for those group homes. Some of you work in those group homes and you're probably eagerly wanting to hear what our thinking is on that, and we'll engage with you to share what that will look like. And we'll bring the Service Evolution Fund, again, I believe May will be the next month that will be available for people to apply for. So now I'd like to turn it over to Lita in Pictou, because I think Lita's going to tell us a little bit about what it means to her that these institutions are closing.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see everybody here today. My name is Lita Jervis. I've been in survivor of 7 institutions: Abbey Lane, Nova Scotia Youth Training Center, Cole Harbour, and twice in the Nova Scotia Hospital. I was in Beaver Bank and I was in the rehab center. Nova Scotia Youth Training Center, where I was, my brother ended up there too. I wasn't allowed to talk to him. I wasn't allowed to go and see how he was doing. So I didn't know what to do because they had the boys on one side and the girls on the other side. But when we went to school, I could see him, but I wasn't allowed to talk to him. I used to have to sneak around in order to get to talk to my brother, but if I got caught, I got punished for it. So when I left the institution, the last institution I was into was the King Rehab Center. And they never set me up with anybody. They never gave me no money in my pocket and that. So I had to get out there and do what I want to do on my own. Right now, my brother is in the institution, and he's been there for 38 years. I am fighting with a lot of people to get my brother out of the institution, and I've been on different committees, and I've been on committees with Maria. I've been with Trish on meetings, and everybody else that been supporting me. What is it like now? My brother Paul still live in an institution, and I am fighting to get him out and living close to me. I have been a People First member over 25 years. I am on many committees and help with lots of work in the problem. I am also on a national committee that works to close institutions all across Canada. I have done work internationally on closing institutions. I have been involved in the human rights case since about 2018. I was to the court case many a time. I have involved in creating the human rights remedy. I have been on the Disability Rights Coalition board for many years and help model how the government is doing with the remedy. I have also been on the Disability Support Program Advisor Committee, helping the government with advice on steps they are taking to roll out the remedy. I was selected to sit on the regional council in the northern region. I will continue to work hard to make such support and serve are set up so everyone with a diverse ability can live in the community of their choice with the support they need.
Thank you, Lita. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us. Now I'm going to hand it over to Jane Gillis in Halifax. Jane, tell us about what it means for your daughter to live in her own home rather than living in an institution.
Thanks, Randy, and thanks, Lita, for your ongoing work in this area. My name's Jane Gillis, and I've been asked to talk about closing institutions from a family perspective. What I can't talk to you about is life in an institution, but what I can talk to you about what life looks like outside an institution. Let me explain. So my daughter, Anna, who I've put together a slideshow that will flip through, is 26. She has an intellectual disability, and we're on the journey of supporting her living in community. However, before the remedy, before the human rights case, this world might not have been a possibility. Anna requires the levels of support that couldn't have been met with the Flex Independent program, and living at home or in an institution, provided we got through the long wait list, would have been the only option until now. So we started the journey about a year ago. We learned of another individual living supported in their community, and she was looking for a roommate. It seemed like a great idea. I liked the other family. We had ideas that aligned. It was going to be fantastic, right? Wrong. Well, it turned out our daughters didn't want to live together. And in hindsight, we really never took the time to consider this. After moving home for a couple months, Anna moved out again, and this time with her younger sister, who wanted to be a supportive roommate to Anna, and also wanted to live a little closer to Dal, where she was studying. What this means is that her sister cares for Anna's needs 2 12-hour shifts per week. That's overnight, and Anna has other people employed to be with her the rest of the time, and her sister just acts as a natural support. Has this transition been easy? No. It's actually been kind of difficult at times. I also know that the transition of the institutions living is not going to be perfect. In fact, I think it's probably going to be a bit messy at times and difficult for families. Some families are struggling with this and they're asking, why the change then? Well, simply put, isn't it great that we, as a province, are respecting the rights of people with disabilities to have choice of where they live and how they live in their communities. As Anna's family, we aren't looking for special. We're looking for ordinary. Anna should not be denied the privilege of living an ordinary life in her community. I know there are many families out there that will respond by saying, well, I know my loved one, my son, my daughter, the best, and I know they don't have the capacity to make these choices, or we have their best interest at heart, or we may make the wrong choices. And you know what? I believe that too. In fact, I kind of cringed at the introduction. I think it's 18 months old, and I've changed a lot in the last 18 months. However, like I said, my beliefs have changed over the last year. Up until about a year ago, Anna lived a life that was mostly unnegotiable for her. She had little choice. She ate what we prepared. She wore the clothes we picked out. And she participated in the activities that we planned, full stop. But through the inclusive living movement, I began to see that we really should be offering Anna more choice, and that she should be given both the rights and supports to make those decisions. Anna doesn't use words to communicate, so navigating choice is sometimes a little difficult, but we've tried to incorporate it into her daily living. It could be as simple as picking out your own TV show, making choice about the food she eats, and even deciding when to go out. We've tried to better inform her of what's going on in her day. We use picture exchange and we use scheduling, allowing her to make choices throughout her day. Turns out she's getting pretty good at expressing her preferences. Tell you a little story. In fact, a few weeks ago, she was reviewing the plan for the day and later resisted leaving the apartment. They eventually got out the door, but when she got on the bus around Barrington Street, she started to scream on top of her lungs. Now, I'm not sure if Tilly's in the audience, she's who was with her at the time, but Tilly's got to the point where she felt it was best to get off the bus because it was causing such a disturbance. So they exited the bus on Quinpool. Once off the bus, do you know what Anna did? She smiled, she laughed, and she clapped. Wow, it seems like she was making a choice. She didn't really want to do the planned activity. And to challenge that later the day, they went on a bus trip to the bookstore, which is her absolute favorite spot, and there was no issue whatsoever. So yes, Anna and many others are going to need support in decision-making. That's true. And that's okay. Those are the systems that we need to be putting in place and can be in place with the remedy. We need support. We don't need isolation, segregation, congregation that's seen with institutional living and with people with intellectual disabilities. As you could see from the slides that I had up, Anna's family and the wonderful people that are paid to work with her are focused on helping Anna build a relationship in her community. There's evidence of natural relationships keep people safe. The formula is simple. We focus on finding ordinary and existing places in her community. During the slides, and if you want to flip them on again, you can, we can see that places like the library and the YMCA, and those are places where people share the same interest as Anna. It's important to go to those places regularly. That's so people don't just see Anna, but they get the opportunity to get to know her. And frankly, miss her if she doesn't show up. Lastly, we're helping Anna contribute to her community. Anna has been helping to bake and sell cookies in her apartment. Through this, she's getting to know her neighbors, and it's so wonderful to watch people engage with her and say, "Hi, Anna," on the elevator. Some of the neighbors buy cookies from Anna, and she uses the money to make donations to the Ronald McDonald House. She has an iPad for choice making. She chooses her weekly donation, and then she goes off to the grocery store to shop for it and deliver it to the Ronald McDonald House. All the while, she's getting to know the people in her community and showing the community that she really matters. I had an opportunity to participate in the training the province did for the intensive planning support coordinators in December and January. And like most parents, while I knew I didn't have everything figured out, I certainly thought I knew best. I soon realized that I had a lot more things to learn about creating an inclusive life for Anna. I worked with 3 incredible women, Karen, Susanna, and Kendra, who I don't think are in this audience, but they're somewhere out there today. And they really saw Anna's potential and helped us navigate community inclusion. It's certainly a new way of thinking, but you know, it was about what we can do. And that was new to me because a lot of the times it's about what we can't do. So I just want to do a little shout out and a thank you to Karen, Susanna, Kendra, along with their mentors, Janet and Lorna, for helping us. Over the next year, institutions will close and many people will have to navigate this transition. At times, it's going to be challenging and it might not always feel perfect. But please keep this quote in the back of your mind. If you believe it will work out, you will see opportunity. If you believe it won't, you'll see obstacles. I truly believe the remedy is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for individuals and families like ours in Nova Scotia. Thank you.
Wowzers. What an incredible morning we have had so far. I would like to start certainly by thanking Rose, Kim, Lita, and Jane. Your personal stories are so powerful and help us understand what the remedy is trying to do and the impact that the remedy will have. And we know that it's through these stories that we learn how to do better, learn how to do differently. And they remind us that all this work we are doing is making a difference to real people. I also want to thank Tricia and Randy for their presentations. It's really starting to feel like the remedy is coming to life. We're seeing all of these changes, and there are so many quotes from what people have said this morning that I can't even keep track of all of them, but they are really these little nuggets of wisdom around, whether it's talking about work at the speed of trust or one size fits one, whether we're looking at Rose putting the boots to you if you don't get on board, or the quotes that Jane just shared with us now. I think it is exceptional to see the knowledge and wisdom that we have in moving forward and the energy and the excitement that we're having. As Minister Armstrong mentioned, 1,200 people are part of this conversation today. It's not just us in any one room that you find yourself in today, but there is a large group of all of us everywhere working together and excited to do better together. Also, to see things like the regional hubs, they're these sort of abstract concepts, right? But to see that's where the remedy is going to get life in our local communities with local focus on how we live a life of our choosing and our meaning. I won't go through everybody's presentations because there's so many rich things to tap into there, but just a huge thanks to everyone who has spoken this morning. Tricia had mentioned it is a lot of information to take in. So I'm going to invite Simon to share a little bit about what we're going to do next.
We're going to take time at our tables to talk about what we heard this morning and share stories and ask questions or just listen.
So to help get things going, there are questions, I believe, printed copies are on your table. They will also be put up on the screen. Stick to them, change them, whatever works for you guys. There will be someone at your table from government who is able to help. They can take notes or questions, take down some comments that people share today, and those will be collected and provided to DSP. So your voices, your questions, your comments are feeding into all of the conversations that we're having today. So we have about, if my math is correct, 25-ish minutes for you guys. Talk at your tables, introduce yourselves. Our power is in our stories and our perspective. So please take this time to introduce yourselves to each other and to any of the government people at your table. I would also like to highlight all those little hands that went up earlier in all of our rooms about regional hub managers. Hi, Devon over there, whoever's in your region, or local area coordinators. This is a great opportunity over lunch or over breaks throughout the day to really get to meet the people we are going to be collaborating and working together with to make this remedy real and really bring it home in the lives of people with disabilities and their families across the province. So for now, jump in on a conversation at your table, and we will be back in about 20 minutes.